still very angry about her family. And I mean, she was vocal about that. And her past, and she was very closed off about even sharing a lot of that. Like her teammates just knew kind of more present. And they really didn't understand what she had left behind. She kept it really closed in. But at that point, she really started to share a little bit. And she was starting to see past some of those really poor choices she had made up until this point. And after losing a party member, we lost a party member. A few cracks started to show in the shell that she had, this defensive shell that she had kind of built up. And even though she really didn't like the character, like personally, it was the fact that things had led up to this character dying, and she had played a part in it, and it was very like painful to acknowledge that. And so, and they had not had that much time together to really form a bond, but the fact that this character who she felt a responsibility to had died as a result of like them not working well together, it was a painful moment. And so I felt like that was the turning point. And then these new people coming in and saying, okay, I'm going to be a better person. I'm going to be a better team player. I am really going to take responsibility for what I'm doing. And that was her turning point, her middle.
Yeah, I think, the important thing about D&D is for the characters as well as the dungeon master to take anything that happens and make it significant. Any moment can be a pivotal moment for a character, whether you choose it or not. So, from a player character dying to the discovery of, or the discovery of your grandfather, that was, we introduced Roanoke's grandfather as a way to tether her back to her past.
Yes.
And how do you think that went? Because we, had Samir with the party for a while as Roanoke's grandfather, and then he, as the bigger man, so to speak, took on her pact with Fraser Blue, or the Fraser Blue, and took that burden from her for a while.
I think that was part of the healing process. I think that was like a moment of like, oh my gosh, I'm confronting this past, of which I feel like when she had left, she was very young. And then she's now an adult, many years have passed. And she's being confronted with like, not just her past, but her family. Like a true head of her family.
Yeah.
And like learning to connect again in a positive way, and acknowledging what she had done had been painful, not just to her, but to others. And then her grandfather actually like taking on this contract that ultimately she would have had to take on.
Yeah.
And then it would have separated her, I think, from the party. It would have caused like probably her nature to change completely.
Yeah.
For him to take that on was like the breaking point of like, I want to be better. I want to be what I was meant to be. And I want to really take on my heritage and really be the genasi that my grandfather sees me to be. And it was really, it was like, because of that connection, that like you bring him in as an NPC and like allowing her to really do that. And then also as a kind of like ripples in a pool, like this drop, he's in there, and then the waves that kind of came out, like it affected her ability to really interact with her teammates and really interact in a positive way, so that she was doing things that were going to benefit the party instead of just her.
Yeah, because I can imagine she would either have to have left the party completely, or turned so dark that she could no longer be functioning. It would just have to be some kind of death. Well,
there were some hints. There were some hints that was going to potentially happen, because she had some madness leading up into that, and then lost it, and then madness coming in, that you could see how it wasn't bad, but it was enough that it was like you could see how it was going to become worse.
Yeah.
And so, it was pretty intense.
Well, I think you
For
did
me,
a
it
good
was.
job. Yeah. Well, I was scared, believe me. I
Oh,
was scared to put all that on you, but I think you did a good job using Samir and taking him up on his offer and then not squandering it.
yeah,
Because I think that, for me, that was the turning point in Roanoke.
yeah,
That was the turning point when she realized she had just escaped this horrible contract and that her actions had affected even to the far realms of the universe.
yeah.
You know, everyone knew about this wish spell that she had cast and then broke. So, you know, consequences.
Yeah,
But I think you did a good job reconciling her.
yeah, yeah.
Um, you know, what else would you like to add about her? And, you know, maybe why was it important to tell her story? And anything else you'd like to add about Roanoke's character?
Um, Roanoke, she didn't die in the end, which was great.
Yeah.
We were all worried about that for a minute.
Yeah.
But she had value, like I do, and I see that. Like
Yeah.
she was valued by her party members. She was valued in a way that I think grew over time, and because of that, it really impacted me because I was able to see that I have value. As well. Like, even though I was playing this and it was a game and everything, I was able to appreciate that I have value. Like I accomplished something great with her, and I allow in that my other members in our party or our other players were able to accomplish things for themselves too. Like, I assisted in helping them. And so that was a very valuable moment to me.
Absolutely.
She really held more of my personality than I thought she did, but she really did. And probably more so than any other characters I've played so far. And she was pretty serious to a degree, and she was really sad in her life. And but she allowed me to pretend and to really use my imagination. And as a grown-up or as an adult, that's really hard. Like, we don't really have those opportunities to do that unless you're working in a very creative industry. Like, you're writing or you're creating music or you're doing things that are a constant draw on that imagination. And I don't. Like, I work for a CPA. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Me, you know?
Yeah.
And so I loved being able to really use those amazing skills that I had as a kid and continue to develop them and grow them, like, as an adult, an appreciation as an adult. Roanoke was really an avatar for my feelings during this time period.
Oh, that is so well said.
She was a way for me to practice life outside of myself. And I love that I can do this over and over again, like, through different things and through different characters and through different personalities. Like, it's like a practice upon a practice upon practice. And Roanoke really helped me. And she deserves a lot of recognition because without her, I don't think that I would be where I am right now. Like, I feel like I accomplished a lot in those 9 months that we played her. So
that is amazing to hear. And it fully supports what I believe, that every single one of us are creative beings. We are creating beings. We are spiritual, and we do not use those skills often enough. And I think through this endeavor, we can, you know, it's clear that you can exercise and play pretend and do life better by practicing this creativity.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to hear that it's available to anybody. It's a low barrier of entry. It's something that you don't have to be necessarily good at, because I think intuitively you are playing who you are. And it's, like you said, it's giving you a safe place to practice your emotions and kind of lay them out on the table. It can be incredibly therapeutic. And there's been so many times where I've left a session thinking, oh, I feel cleansed. I feel like I got something off my chest.
Yeah. Oh, there were times when we left and I was very emotionally charged. And I'd be texting, I'm really happy with how that ended. There were so many times I'd be like, I don't like this. This is not happening. And then we would come back and it would, like, resolve itself.
It can be a roller coaster, but I do want to commend you for going through it, because I've gotten some feedback about my stories and games that there is a lot of role play. It's not just hack and slash. And I try to, like, when I have a new player, just let them know, like, hey, I do present a lot of drama and maybe even emotionally charged situations. We're always going to talk about them and make sure everybody's on board. But I like family dynamics. I like communication. I think it's a great way to practice communication.
Yeah, definitely.
And I love, like, you're a CPA, or you work for a CPA, and you bring a certain skill set to the table that I don't have. But when you bring that to the table, that challenges me to up my game with my NPCs, to make them more challenging and more realistic for you.
Oh, my notes. My notes. I keep
Yes.
you honest.
You do. Yes, you are the note taker.
I have a journal of, like, I don't know, like this thick, like, of all the things. And I think that is a skill that I brought in, that I have, I can struggle with some memory issues, and I'll just, like, play through it, but everybody's like, that's not really what happened. And I'd be like, so to keep me honest, like, I feel like it's a skill, and not anybody else in our party really does that. Like, it's not every party has a person who does that either. And so they really depend on you to really kind of remember everything. And that's hard. I can't imagine how hard your job is at that point. But yeah, no, it's kind of funny. And but I will say this, that in playing her and then having this opportunity to play with you, like, we appreciate the amount of work that goes into our games, and it goes into the world that you have kind of built and allowed us to help you build. We appreciate the amount of time and effort and knowledge and research and planning, because, like you said before, you'll plan 100 scenarios and we may be doing 5, so, or we may, like, skip through a whole bunch of stuff, and you're like, oh well, that's okay. But you really set us up for success in our game, and that really does make the adventure so much more rewarding for us as a group.
That is exciting to hear. That is so good. Well, I had fun with this. I love doing interviews, and it's I'm just blown away constantly that we can take some, it's a linguistic game. We're just talking around a table, right? We're scribing things down. We're creating the entertainment.
Yes.
And that it can be so productive is really heartwarming to me. So
yes.
I sincerely appreciate everything you've given to the game as well, and how seriously you take it and how much fun you have. So
we can't wait. We're excited. We've already really enjoyed our new campaign. It's going to be fantastic.
Well, I'm excited to learn about your new character, Nahala.
Yes, Nahala.
And I'm also interested to see her relationship with Lucky, the dwarf.
Yes.
Because I think he will. I think he's going to show up quite a bit.
She's a comic. She's a funny, goofy kind of. I totally, like I did with Roanoke. She's kind of in a different realm. Mm-hmm. I modeled her off of totally different types of people, and so I'm hoping to really, like, be a little less serious and a little more fun and a little more like Indiana Jones, Han Solo. It's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting.
I think so far you've done a good job, and I've had to do a couple double takes and be like, wait, who is this now? This is not the same character. Like, you're giving off a totally different energy in the new campaign.
It's fun. Yeah. Like, I'm excited. So
it's ridiculous. So I have to admit, I resisted it at first, and then I realized, no, this is going to be slapstick. This is going to be great.
It's a sandwich. Sandwich. I stole the sandwich.
It's a sandwich. All right. Well, hey, our story continues. Thank you, Jen, for joining me today.
Thank you
hope this
for
helps
this
out everyone in crafting your characters.
Yeah.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.